We are completely shifting gears right now. We are done with the human factors. And we're going to talk about privileges and limitations. Well, it certainly makes sense that if the first thing we talk about is human factors, get your head on right, understand what it is you're doing and how mistakes happen, the very next thing we should talk about is what can you and can't you do as an aircraft mechanic. Of course, maybe we could put that one last because you're not one yet anyway. Anyway, what we want to do is we want to understand the certificating process. Oh, that makes more sense. Process or procedure for becoming an aircraft mechanic. All right. I want to know this. Where do you suppose I'm going to go to find this information? Bars. Going to Google it? I shouldn't say that. No. Ignore you. All right. I suppose you could. Chat GPT it. It'll give you the right answer and tell you where to go. But we're going to go to the FARs. Who has their FAR book with them? Some fantastic student who's... All right. Yeah. Can I use this for a while?
Yeah.
All right. So I want to know what's the certificating process for an aircraft mechanic. The FAR's Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulations, which is aviation stuff, is very, very thick. And a lot of it does not apply to us or to you. So what they do is, this is FAR AMT. What does AMT stand for? Aircraft Maintenance Technician. Pilots, we have one that says FAR AIM. Air Mission, because it's not airman anymore. It used to be Airman's Information Manual. I think now it's Air Mission's Information Manual. Trying to get the airman out of there. Anyway, so this one's set up for mechanics. It's like, hey, you're probably going to need this. This is the information you'll need. And you'll see that it's got definitions and abbreviations up front. Part 65, certificating. Part 43, maintenance records. Part 65, I already said that, certification. Part 91, general operating flight rules. Why would we have to know operating flight rules? Because we work on airplanes. We've got to know what rules the airplane has to comply with. When is its transponder cert due? When is the IFR cert due? How often do we check the ELT? What color the lights should be? On and on and on. So all that stuff is in there. So I want to know what this is. So it's a very thick book and I know nothing about it. So what am I going to do? Start reading it? Well, I guess the first thing I could do is go to the front and look at the table of contents. And I go, I don't know anything about this. So I like this part right here. There's not a lot of words. And I go, well, let's see, definition, abbreviation. No. General requirements, safety, no. Certification procedures for products and articles. Am I a product or an article? No. Certification, normal category. I'm not an airplane. I can keep going through this. Aircraft engines, propellers, airworthiness directives, and unfortunately you got to go all the way down to 65. So certification, airmen other than flight crew members. Hey, that sounds like me. Part 65, right there. And I can go down the color coded section. Go part 65. Look at that. Then there's an index in part 65, and I can just kind of go through that and go, okay. Part A is general. B is air traffic, definitely not me. Aircraft dispatch, don't know what that even means. I do actually. Oh, D, mechanics. Look how fast I got there. And right there. Requirements. And it says 65.71, and that's how we talk in aviation. So we would say the certificating procedures, what am I on, certification, certification for an aircraft mechanic is covered in, so if I ask the reference, this is how we're going to talk in aviation. I'm going to say it's 14 CFR, which stands for Title 14 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 65 exactly dot, what did I say, 17? 71. 65.71 through, or I could just say it's part 65, and you could look up the rest of it. Or I could say it's under FAR 65. Got it? So it's not hard to use this book. You have to be comfortable with this book. Yeah.
Just so I understand this properly, is this just like the equivalent of like Part 61 for a pilot?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So Part 61 is aircrew, right? Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what I look at it. So.
Yeah. Part 61 is not in here because it's not part of what we do. So, but you have to know the book. It's funny. I've had a lot of different jobs and I hold different licenses, and it's the only job I've ever had where I have a real estate broker's certificate and all kinds of stuff, and they'll talk about law. I never had to read it. I mean, ever. This job, you have to actually read this. You have to. You have to know what it says. You don't have to follow these rules. It's a weird thing. So we're kind of like, attorneys write this and we're supposed to understand it. It's not an option. I mean, it can be. I've known people who don't read this. It shows. It really shows, and they embarrass themselves. So, all right. So one of the things, the projects I have is first project is I want you to get comfortable opening up the book and looking this stuff up because it's so easy. And once you start doing it, I know Larry always asks me, have you ever actually read Part 147? Yes, Larry, I've read Part 147. It's not that long. It's what I do for a living. This is a Part 147 school. I've read it many times. I've practically memorized it back in a couple years ago and had to rewrite all our curriculum, and they rewrote Part 147. Anyway, so don't be afraid of it. I want you to open it up. I want you to look at it. I just showed you how to do it. Got to look at the index. What makes sense? Almost everything you're going to do is going to be Part 65 and 43. Few things in 91. I've just distilled it down to 3 parts out of this. It's rare that you're going to be in the other parts. Other parts are air carrier, certification of parts and aircraft. Unless you're building an airplane, you're not even in there. So, all right, it's Part 65. Let's see. What does it say? You got to have a certain amount of things. 1, you must be at least 18 years old. What if you're not 18? Well, grow up. Get there. At least 18. Be able to read. Oh, shit. I'm going to lose a few more. Read, speak, and understand English. Asterisk. There is a caveat in there that says if you're unable to read, speak, and understand English, you can still get an AMP certificate. On the back it will say valid only outside of the U.S. That way, American carriers, like United, American, things like that, this is what I think. So if they want to have they have to have A&Ps work on their airplanes, but they fly all over the world. So what if they're in, I don't know, Brazil? What do they speak in Brazil mostly? Portuguese, thank you. So they want to have their aircraft serviced there. They have to be A&Ps speak Portuguese. That's what they speak there. So fine, do that. That's how they're going to work most efficiently and safely in their own language. So it's valid outside the U.S. Now, how they test them, I don't know. Yes?
If we were to go work in a different country, for example, would we have to get their license that's...
Depends on who you're working for.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know, a country near.
I know, but if you're going to go to Europe and you're going to work on, what's the European air carrier, Air France or something like that, well, then you have to probably, they're France-based, you probably have to get the French, I would guess. I had a student one time from Canada. He was actually a seasoned mechanic out of Canada. The poor guy met a girl, fell in love. She lived here, took her to his home in Canada. As he explained it, she took one step off the airplane, said, hell no, we're going back on the airplane, we're going back to California. So here he was, a seasoned aircraft mechanic who was working for Air Canada, had to get his American A&P certificate. So,
This class again?
Yeah, it took 2 years to get his. Yeah, yeah, it was the fastest route. So, all right. Okay, so we got to do that. But that whole caveat, I'm assuming everybody I shouldn't assume, everybody in here is pretty much working with the English language right now. If you're not, let me know. I could change some things. Yeah, there was the exception. Exception C. Have passed all tests within a 24-month period. I had a guy call me last week. Was trying to get into the class. I said, dude, man, I'm sorry, man. I mean, it is so full. Wait list is full. There's no chance. And I don't know what made me ask this. He's like, well, what do I do? And I said, did you just like wake up one day and decided you wanted to be an AMP or what? Like the other day, because you got to really plan for this. It was kind of a rude thing to say, but I don't know what made me say that. He goes, no. He goes, I've already been to AMP school. I said, then why do you want to do it again? He's like, because I didn't pass all my tests within 24 months. I said, that's not what that means. It means your AMP, the graduation certificate you get from here is good for the rest of your life. So if you choose not to go do your tests and 10 years goes by and you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to go take those AMP tests I never took. You can go do it. What it says is you have to pass all tests within a 24-month period. So let's say you take your general today. You had better finish taking your power plant, airframe, and oral practical in the next 2 years. If you don't, you may have to retake your general. So from the start to the finish of testing, you have 24 months. So just like I told you I took my written for my instrument. Well, that was about 25 months ago. So guess what? I got to retake it. So took the test, started all my training. Well, now do I have to retake the test and do all my training? No, but I do have to retake that test because in 24 months. Idiot. All right, let's see. And comply with the section of subpart D that apply to your rating. That was confused stuff. Okay. What are the ratings? This is kind of the one point, so two. There are different ratings for your big. The ratings are power plant and
Airframe.
there's talk of making another rating. What do they want to do? Avionics, I think.
Yeah, where would avionics fall under? Airframe or what?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
really?
airframe. It's not power plant.
Was that really airframe?
It's an airframe.
I know, but a propeller isn't really power plant, but a propeller falls in a
Ah,
power
it
plant.
is, yeah, it's power
That's to it.
transmission.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, avionics falls under airframe because it's electronics. It's electricity. All right, so those are, well, there's 3 ratings, I guess, actually. Rating 1 is power plant. Rating 2 is airframe. Rating number 3 would be ANP, airframe and power plant, technically speaking. There are 3 ratings. Why would anybody want just a power plant or just an airframe? You wouldn't. It's not very useful. All right. Could have started with this. How to get your ANP. There are 2 distinct paths. These 2 paths do not cross. In a weird way they would, but they don't cross. You can't do half and half, except for this weird thing I'll talk about. Okay, so path 1. Okay, 2 paths, 2 path. How to get your ANP or A or P. There we go. There's 2 paths. Path 1, experience. You can go out and you can work for 18 months. Experience and get your A or P. So go find a shop. You can find them tomorrow. There's plenty out there. Apprentice, want to get my A&P. I don't have it. Can I work in your shop? Yes. After 18 months, you can go to the FAA. Keep a record of what you've done. Go to the FAA. Call ahead. Go to the office. Say, I've been working for 18 months for this guy, and I would like to get my A, or I'd like to get my P, because it's A or P for 18 months. And the FAA will ask you some questions. If they feel confident, they're going to sign off in 8610-2, send you on your way. You now have authorization to go take your writtens and take your oral practical. And if you pass, you can have your A or your P. But you're thinking, wait, I want the A and P. Well, is that 18 times 2? No, it's just 30. 30 months. Experience. And that is your A and P. So there you go. 30 months, you're done. Didn't have to go to school. Got paid the whole time. That is the path. The problem with that path is, like if you were working in my shop, and when you go to get your A and P, they're still going to ask you a lot of questions about helicopters. I don't work on helicopters. Turbine engines. We have only one customer with a turbine engine. Fabric work. I did a lot of fabric work, but I haven't done any in my new shop, so you may not get any fabric work or woodwork. So there's a lot of things that you may not get experience on. Yeah.
Is there any way to shadow or apprentice at several shops so you can get all those rotor, fabric, and
It's America. You can do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, but
Go work for a guy.
does that work for the FAA? Like, will they?
They don't care.
Don't care. Yeah.
Experience is experience. I think you're gonna have a hard time with the shop. You walk in and go, hey, I'd like to work for you for 6 months.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
And then when I'm done with you, I'm gonna go work for that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, yeah, okay, once you know. All right, so experience. So there are people who own their own airplanes. Okay, so the experience thing. Well, how many hours a day, how many days a week? Doesn't say. So, it doesn't say. Guess it's open to interpretation. Yeah.
What if you work for 2 shops at once? You work for 18 months at both shops.
Like 12 hours one, 12 hours the other, so you're putting in 24 hours in one day.
Well, I don't know.
18 months is 18 months, 30 months is 30 months. So if you work for 4 hours at one shop and 4 hours at the next shop for a day, that's 1 day. But it doesn't say how many hours a day. So a lot of people are very lenient with this. So there are people who maybe just have been working on their own airplane for years. And let's be honest, I don't work on my airplane every single day, or every single week, or even every single month. So I have a hard time with this, but there are people who do it. They've been working on their airplane for a long time, and the buddy in the hangar next to him has an A&P, has been kind of watching him, and one day goes, you seem like you know what you're doing. Why don't I just sign off and say you've been working on your plane for 30 months? And they take that down to the FAA, and I've been working on my plane for 30 months. And this guy said, I've been working on stuff for 30 months, and the FAA signs him off, and there are a lot of mechanics out there like that. Most of them are pretty cool about it. They're like, yeah, I've got my A&P, and I work on my plane, and that's all I do, because that's all I really know. And I can appreciate them. I can really appreciate that for what they're trying to do. They're kind of an expert on their little plane. They've had great training on their plane. They don't touch anybody else's, and they're within the rules, so that's fine. Let's see. Or you can go the knowledge route. That means you must attend an FAA Part 147 school. And I guess there's 200 of them in the United States, based on a conversation I had the other day. So you can go to Part 147 school, which is a Part 147, FAR 14 CFR Part 147. What is Part 147? Well, if I wanted to know, where would I look? I can go to the index, or I can use my brain and know that it's pretty much in numerical alphabetical order here, and I could just kind of flip through until I go to Part 147. There's Part 147. Next part they shortened it way up a couple of years ago. There we go. Part 147 tells you everything you know about an aviation maintenance school in 2 pages. It does not teach you everything you want to know. That is for damn sure. There's a lot of stuff to this. But anyway, gives some guidance to me as a Part 147 operator on how to do this. So you go to Part 147 school, roughly 1,900 hours. Roughly is how much time you'll spend here. When they came out with the new Part 147, September 21st of 2022, that was a big day. A lot of schools said there's no way we can do this in 1,900 hours because there is literally 1,234 subjects. That's not on the test, by the way. That's sort of just there. That's how many, and that's not a made up number. It's easy to remember because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. But so when they changed it, I don't want to bore you with this, but they changed it, and the three instructors, we sat right here in this room, and I put out 1,234 subjects on there, and we covered every one of them one by one and said who covers it and where. Yep, human factors. I got it. 309, I cover it. Okay, next. Privileges and limitations. I do it in 309. Phil raises his hand. I do it in 330 something. Larry, I cover it over here. Okay, we covered it 3 times. Awesome. Who covers? That was a long day. We got to the end and we said, holy crap, we covered all. We were doing great. Okay. So you can kind of mix and match this, only to the extent of you could do the knowledge part to get your general and airframe. So let's just say you went through the school long enough to get an airframe, and then after that you're like, I'm tired of school. I'll just go get experience at my power plant. And you could do something like that. So, but otherwise, it doesn't. You can't. People ask all the time, well, I've been working in the field for 1 year, so what can I challenge at the program? Nothing. Well, then can I waive 309? No. All right, then you got a test. Regardless of which path, they're all going to merge at the end. Testing. You must pass 3 written tests. Or 2 for an A or P. So if you're only going to get an A or a P, then it's only 2 tests. What are those tests? General. Airframe. Power plant. Then what? Oral and practical. Technically that's 2 tests, but we just call it oral and practical. All right, so you've done that. You passed all your tests, your general, your airframe, your power plant, and your oral practical. How long do you have to do all of that?
24 months.
Within 24 months. Within 24 months of graduating? For starting with your first test. If you go to this school, when should you take your general? How long after you graduate should you be taking your general? Next day. Well, there's something wrong with you. Take it the next day. All right. Testing. How long does it last? Let's back up and talk about money. Right now, that one's going to cost you $175. That one's going to cost you $175. That one's going to cost you $175, and this one's going to cost you, I don't know, $1,200 to $1,500. Where are you going to get that money? Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea where I'm going to get the money. But I have a question for, if I'm through like a pilot check ride, I could go to an FAA inspector and basically do it for free. But they,
Wait, say that again? What now?
if I go to an FAA inspector and I do a check ride, they could do that check ride for free. Is that correct?
Oh, you know what? I think I've heard something like that
Is
before.
that like a
but
similar thing if I go to an FAA? Okay.
you have to go to what's called a DME, Designated Mechanic Examiner. DME, Designated Mechanic Examiner. I was a DME for many years. It's a tiring job. You're a designee of the FAA. So you go to the FAA and they say, okay, you, Kevin, as an AMP, are a good, outstanding citizen. Fool them. And we trust you to give the test in accordance with the parameters we've set forth. And there you go. And right now, there are only 2 DMEs in our area. There's one in Vacaville and there's one in Byron. Almost all of our students go to the one in Byron, simply because more students tend to go to him. More students come back and report what their day was like. And everybody, his name is Ed Miyamoto. Guess I've never met him. He's like in his 80s. But everybody said Ed is very calm and does a really good job of making you calm. So everybody says they have a good experience with Ed. So people go to Ed. All I have to say about that. So people go to Ed. But you can go anywhere you want. Oh, I know. When I was a DME, there's some bad people out there. So, $1,500 a pop is pretty good. So if you do one a day, that's $1,500 a day. But you don't work every day. So let's just say you work during the week. What is it? 20 weeks. I mean, you're looking over $20,000 if you were busy enough. I don't know if there's that many a month people to test. So there are a lot of private companies out there, for-profit schools who teach A&P, who, I'll be careful how I say this. There's just a lot of bad people out there. So when I was a DME, there was a bad apple. And this is how the FAA works. This is not an unusual thing at all. It's a great example. He was a DME who was not really testing people. You show up, put your money on the table, spend a little time, have some coffee and a cigarette, let me type out your certificate, have a good day. And the FAA found out about it, and I know. And so what the FAA does, they don't walk in and say, hey, we suspect that you're doing something wrong. Oh no, they started sending all the FAA inspectors to this guy and seeing what his day was like. And then they came out and said, put out a notice and said, all right, here's the deal. This guy, and they named the guy, I forget his name now, is not giving proper tests. Therefore, anybody who has ever tested with him, ever, your A&P certificate is void. It is no good. And so anybody out in the field working, you are no longer employed. I think I got one person, actually, came to see me. You had to pay to retest. You had to go find an examiner, and you had to redo your oral practical. And back when I did it, it was tough, man. I had to ask, like I said, 44 practical projects. Half of them had to be a level 3, which meant you had to actually do something. And it took at least 10 hours. I mean, 10 would be the fast day. 12 or 14 was a typical day for somebody. It was horrible. We were both exhausted. So be careful who you go to. If they're too easy, ask yourself, is this going to be good? Because you never know when the FAA could put out something and say, hey, anybody went and saw this guy? No more. All right, so you got to do that. Okay, length of certificate. How long does it last? Let's try to abbreviate some of this. Lasts for life. Asterisk. Or, technically it says until surrendered or revoked. Unless it's surrendered or revoked. Why would you ever surrender your A&P license? What's that?
It's for like health reasons.
No, you just put it in your pocket and stop using it. The FAA knocks on your door and they say, we have a proposition for you. You could surrender your certificate, or we could go through revocation, which involves attorneys and all kinds of stuff and getting into your business. So what would you like to do with this? And at that point, you might say, there you go. And they go away and you go away and you're not working on airplanes anymore. Actually, people like that tend to just go back work on airplanes anyway. So otherwise, it's good for life. And what's really interesting, and I don't agree with this. It never expires. So technically, and there's no renewal. It's crazy. Like I said, I mean, your driver's license. Geez, you got to pay to have your driver's license renewed. I have a real estate broker's license. That thing cost me like every 4 years, like $600 or $700 to renew. The state of California, my AMP certificate, over the lifetime that I've owned it, has, outside of the testing, has cost me something like $25 because, one, when it was first issued to me, it was my social security number. And somebody at some point said, maybe it's not a good idea to have people writing their social security number in every single logbook they've ever done. So if you find a really old logbook with my signature, you'll know my social security number. And so I got a new one with a randomly generated number, which, by the way, changed the date of issuance. So if I really want to know when I got mine issued, I have to go through a drawer somewhere and find my old paper one that has my social security number on it and go, that's when it was really issued. And then after a while, they came out with plastic ones and said, well, if you want a plastic one, it'd be $15. So got a plastic one. So there you go. Lasts for life. Okay, but, the big but is not, we'll call it active, my words, or valid unless the following is met. You have 6 months experience within the last 24 months. So you graduate school, got your certificate January 1. Is it active? Absolutely, just got it. It's good. You don't do anything. End of the year, is it still good? Yep. Go all the way to almost 2 years. Is it still good? Yep. Once you hit that 2-year mark, nope. You can't, it's not active or valid. So what does that mean? Well, you got to go work for somebody for 6 months now. So it takes you 2 years to get a job. It won't. It'll take you 2 minutes in this economy. 2 years to get a job. You have your AMP? Yes, I do. But I haven't worked for 24 months. Don't worry about it. All it means is you had to work under somebody's supervision for 6 months. So you start working at the shop. 6 months later, you're signing stuff off. Yeah.
In the FARs, do they have like the same setup where with aviation it's calendar months, or is this just like?
Yeah. So well, it is aviation. You notice they do months. Months for the FA are kind of weird. They don't usually, there's a few things where they use the actual date. Like if you got your license on January 15th, it would be good for 2 years all the way until January 15th. But the FA usually goes to the end of the month. You got it in January, so it's good all through January, and it expires on the 30th of the following January. That's kind of complicated, but like airplanes have to have an annual inspection every year. So if I signed off my airplane as finished my annual, if I finished my annual today, June 10th, my annual expires on June 30. You always get to the end of the month. That's why pilots are really cheap. They always go, no, just don't sign it off until the first of the month. And then they get an extra month, so they get 13 months. But I don't know exactly. I don't know if it's to the date. I wouldn't push it. I would just be like, talking about 30 days. If you're that close, just go with the rule. It's not valid. The other thing, it says 6 months experience within the last 24. It does not say how much experience that is. Is it 8 hours a day? Is it consecutive? Is it 1 day a month? It doesn't say. And that's kind of the weird thing, which I always go back to, well, it's not a problem until it's a problem. When you did something stupid, the FAA comes looking at you, then they're going to start worrying about this. Otherwise, I don't think they care, nor will they ever know. Your license, you didn't use it for 24 months, and you went to work for somebody, and, oh, shoot, I signed that thing off, and I've really only been here for 5 months and like 4 days. Oh, my gosh, I'm busted. No, nobody's going to care. If it, nothing happened, nobody's going to notice. That's a terrible thing to say, but that's just the truth. Sometimes things just aren't exactly spelled out to the degree they need to be to enforce it. But you always want to comply with the spirit of the law. So as long as you're complying with the spirit of the law, I think you're completely fine. Nobody's going to go, well, that was to the end of the month, not the beginning of the month. No, they won't do that. So, yeah, but you want to make sure that you work under somebody, keep it active. Or maybe you own your own airplane. You haven't worked for 2 years on it. You sold an airplane, you haven't had one for 2 years, and I bought an airplane. I only work on my own airplane. Well, what am I going to do? Go find your AMP buddy. Say, hey, my license isn't valid because I haven't worked on my airplane. I haven't worked in the field for 6 months. Can you look over my work for me, please? That sounds like a really good idea anyway, doesn't it? And so your AMP buddy comes over, he looks over your work, makes sure you're doing great. After 6 months, it's like you got your active back. Okay. Oh, what is work? 6 months experience, work. What is experience? It can be actual work, which is working on airplanes. It can be supervisory, which means I'm not getting dirt under my nails, which, if you look at my nails, there's plenty of it, because there are today. I haven't turned a wrench, but I'm watching other people. And this one cracks me up. Or executive. You don't actually work on aircraft. You don't actually supervise people working on aircraft, but by God, you're running the company. So, and then my favorite is or approval by the administrator. The FAA does not call itself the FAA. The FAA calls itself the administrator. So whenever you see the administrator in the FARs, that means the FAA. That's who they call themselves. So you haven't worked on anything in years. Your license is not valid or active. And you think, the heck with this 6 month stuff. I'm going to go right to the FAA. Knock on the door. Can't knock on the door. You have to make an appointment. They're terrified of terrorists. People don't like them. So make an appointment. You go to the FAA. Hi, can we help you? Yeah, you know that 24-month rule? I don't like it. I think I know my stuff and I want to go work on airplanes right now. And the FAA could actually pull you into an interview room. They could interview you, ask you a bunch of questions, come out and see something. I don't know what they do. And if they deem you fine, they'd say, you know what? You're good to go. I don't know if they issue a letter or what they do because your card doesn't get a stamp. So I don't know, but you always have that option.
Kevin,
Yes.
there is no trace though on your card being valid. That falls on what you said earlier.
It's an honor system.
Yeah. So back to the FAA being enforcing it, they don't even know. How do they enforce, and how would they even know that it's invalid because you're not signing anything?
It's not a
off?
problem till it's a problem.
Right.
So
Okay.
when the airplane crashes and they go, so we see right here that you signed off the 100-hour inspection on this airplane. We haven't heard of you before. Where have you been working?
Where's your last sign-offs?
Yeah, where do you work? I kind of work for myself. Interesting. What have you been working on? Well, nothing recently.
Yeah.
Or he said, I work on all kinds of planes. Well, give me some end numbers. Give me some examples. We'd like to talk to these people and look at those logbooks. And then we'll call those owners and say, hey, this guy says he's working on the airplane. Is this true? Who said that? What? No, they have their ways. It's not a problem till it's a problem.
It's just to me the thinking of it is it's too loose really for it, but it does fall down on that honor system and the fact that you are doing heavy work that has heavy risk involved. So yes, there is traceability, but it's I don't know.
We're given a tremendous amount of trust from the FAA. I told you about the guy from Canada. He talked to me about Canada. Oh, it is very different. You have a logbook. You have certain endorsements you have to get, certain planes you can work on, not work on. You're constantly working on these endorsements and stuff. It's a big deal up there. We are so fortunate here that it's just, FA says, all right, we've taught you, you've got good judgment, we hope. Go do the right thing. And it seems to work for the most part. There are definitely some bad people out there, but it's fairly well self-policed. You haven't seen an angry A&P who gets, mechanics get real angry. I try not to be. And something comes in and isn't right, man, they are on the phone to the FSDO and they're going, hey, man, you got to look into this. And so, yeah, we do a pretty good job of policing ourselves. So, break time. Break time. Oh, wait a minute. Before you run off, it's almost time for, we'll just go. Can you guys go till there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. See, I didn't even give you time. I just didn't. Not the red knob, the black one. I know my students.
The long one.
All right. All right, so we're clear on that. How do you get your A&P? So you don't have to be here. You can leave right now. You can go work out in the field. It's going to be very hard to take the test. This is the easiest way. You're going to get the best well-rounded knowledge. You can make your decision at the end of 2 years. What do I want to work on? I have been trained and taught to work on little airplanes, helicopters, big airplanes, commuter airplanes, just name it. The school's going to prepare you to work on it. Choose whatever you want. When I went to this school, I was absolutely convinced I was going to go work for Delta. I was my buddy in the class. His dad worked for Delta. That's where I was going. And then I got out of school, and it was a significant economy problem. Everybody was losing their jobs at the airlines. They weren't flying. It was a long time ago. Hasn't really happened. Things come and go. So I ended up working at this crappy little airport. It was dirty and dark. And I'm like, what am I doing? I took a pay cut to even do it from what I was already doing. And then I fell in love with it. And the worst day of the week for me was Friday, because it meant it was going to be 2 days before I can come back and work on airplanes. And then, like I said, new owner bought it, turned it into this magnificent, we were the place to go. We did restorations on World War II airplanes, Stearmans, Cubs. You guys heard of AOPA?
Yeah.
AOPA does an airplane giveaway every year. We did an AOPA their giveaway plane for 1 year. It was just great. We bought an engine shop. It became this. They'd always done premier engine shop, magneto overhaul, non-destructive testing, carburetor, you name it. And then we got into citation jets. It's like, God, it was just fantastic. Every day was just a great thing. So, but remember where I was going to go? Not there, but I walked right into it with the education. So, yeah.
The World War II planes you said?
Yeah.
The restoration on that, are those so that they can fly again, or is that were those for more like museum purposes?
Oh, no, they all flew.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what the term basket case? You've heard that. Oh, it's a real basket case. That's the actual term. I don't know if it started with aviation. Balls to the wall, by the way, is an aviation term. It means the little balls on the, I say all the time, balls to the wall. It's throttles, quadrants and stuff, little balls on it going to the wall meant to go fast. Basket case. We did basket cases. That's actually where airplanes were brought in baskets. In the back of a pickup, boom. An entire pickup and trailer load of just milk crate baskets. Dropped at our door, go, build me a plane. This used to be a plane. I took it apart, found it in a barn, and I did a lot of those and saw them fly off. Really cool to do. So, anyway, that's the good part about going to school. You get to choose all of that. All right, this next part is going to be a little confusing, and I'm going to try to make it not confusing. And the problem with this is defining what is being done to an aircraft. There's preventative maintenance, there's maintenance, there's inspections, there's alterations, there's major alterations, there's repairs, there's major repairs. There is now work being done on light sport aircraft, and the home-built world brings a whole nother problem. So there's all these nuances of different kinds of work and who can do what and how is it done. And one of the easiest ways to distill it is to say, well, I'm an A&P. So I start here. I can already do everything all of you guys can do, so I don't worry about it. I don't worry about LSA, light sport, and all that, and who can do what, repairman certificates. Because when you have an A&P, it's like, okay, that covers all of this. So that's where it gets kind of confusing. It's like, well, okay, who can work on a home built? Well, a home built aircraft, one that's legitimately built in somebody's garage, who can work on it? Well, somebody who has a repairman certificate. Okay, well, what's a repairman certificate? Well, that's issued to the builder of the aircraft. Okay, I wasn't the builder. Or an A&P. I got that. I'm good to go. Okay, so there's different types of work. Different types of, well, I hate to use the work because there's a distinction between work and inspections, but we'll just go with the global work. We have maintenance. Preventative maintenance. We have repairs. We have alterations. We have major repairs. And we have major alterations. And then we have, what if I do it? Yes, G, inspections. So each one of these things has its own little nuanced who can do what. I don't know, maybe to, you want to know what you can do as an A&P. That's the easiest way to go about this. So what is maintenance? Well, the FAA has a great way of defining stuff, like means in maintenance. Inspection. Like, wait a minute, inspection's all the way at the bottom. Yeah, well, it's right here too. Inspection, overhaul, repair, preservation, getting rid of corrosion, stuff like that, and replacement of parts. But excludes preventative maintenance. So it's all this stuff, but not preventative maintenance. Well, gee, thanks. That was a huge help. Appreciated that one. What's preventative maintenance? Well, it gets its own thing. So, simple or minor preservation options. Operations, and the replacement of small standard parts. What's a small standard part? Bolts, screws. Yeah. Not involving complex operations. So I ran out of room right there, so I squished up my operations. Hey, by the way, where do you think I found the answer to what is preventative maintenance? FAR. Which part FAR?
Part one.
Part one. What is part one?
Definitions.
Definitions and abbreviations. Let's go right there. What's the definition of that? Part one. Some people, there's a lot of abbreviations in aviation. There are some people that say you should never use an abbreviation unless you can find it in the FAR 1. I don't know. All right, so I looked it up, found that. Repair. This is a great one. Repair. I'm going to define that or FAR 1 defines it as a repair other than a major repair. That was super helpful.
Yeah.
Alteration means an alteration other than
Oh my goodness.
a major alteration. That was even more helpful. Where do I find that one? FAR1, FAR1. There we go. But then we get into major repairs. Thank God, because up here it says anything other than major repair. Well, now we're talking about something. If I want to know what a major repair is, where do you think I would go? I would go to the FARs. And where would I look that up? Oh, let's try part one. Let's see. Part one. Part one. Let's see. I want M, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. Major alteration, because I found that first. Because repair is going to be next. Major repair means a repair. One, actually I have the answer written right in front of me, that if improperly done might appreciably affect weight and balance, structural strength, performance, power plant operation, flight characteristics, or other qualities affecting airworthiness, or two, that is not done according to accepted practices or cannot be done by elementary operations. Interesting. That didn't help, did it? I could write all that, but that would be a lot to write. So what are we going to do about that one? Well, major repairs, the definition is in FAR 1, but the list of major repairs is found in FAR 43. 43? What is 43? Wait a minute, what the heck? 43. 43 is maintenance. Preventative maintenance, rebuilding, and alteration. Oh, that sounds just like what we were looking for. I told you almost everything was going to be in FAR 43 for us. 43. So I go to 43. Oh, please be a list. Please be a list. Please be a list. Let's see. List. Oh, there's no list. Wait a minute. Appendix A gives me a list. Let's see. There. No. I want PowerPoint. There we go. Okay, so we did that. Oh, there we go. I could have done this a long time ago. There's where our definitions, abbreviations, preventative maintenance, preventive maintenance, rebuilding, alteration, certification, general operating flight rules, repair stations. If you want to be a repair station, and us. So those are the big ones right there. See, but I'm looking for not that. Really? That's all I did? Okay, so I don't have a slide for that. So I thought I did. Let me see here. Just make sure. No, okay. I thought I had it all written out. I do not. So in FAR 43, Appendix A, it's going to give me a list of major alterations, major repairs, and if it's on the list under major repairs, then it is a major repair. So I go to major repairs, and I go, oh, it's even in bold. A, major alterations. Nope, oh, major repairs. That's subpart B, so FAR 43, Appendix A, comma B, and item 1 is airframe major repairs. 2 is going to be power plant. 3 is propeller. So I go to B, we'll go 1. That's going to list all of my airframe major repairs. So I read down there and I say, okay, I am going to change a tire. That sounds like a repair. Okay. Anything about tires? Box, beams, monocoque, spars, hinges, corrugated sheet, tail, engine mounts, fuselage, axle. Ooh, it does say wheels. So, but I said changing a tire. So tire. You're gonna keep going. No, nothing about tires. It also says up front, airframe major repairs. Repairs to the following parts of the airframe and repairs to the following types involving the strengthening, reinforcing, splicing, manufacturing of primary structure members or their replacement, where replacement is by fabrication such as riveting or welding, are major repairs. So I'm changing a tire. Am I riveting it? Am I welding it? Am I making a new one? And it involves the wheel, but did I rivet the wheel? Change the wheel? So is it a major repair? There we go. So therefore it is a
Repair.
just a repair. Except, wait a minute, maybe it's not. What are we going to do about this? What if it's preventative maintenance? How would I know if it's preventative maintenance?
Check the aircraft in the book.
Part C. Part C is preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance is limited to the following work provided it does not involve complex assembly operations. Servicing tires is on here, I know it is. Servicing landing gear, wheel bearings such as cleaning, replacing defective safety wire, blah, blah, blah. Reason why I don't care about preventative maintenance is because I'm an A&P, it covers it. So who can do preventative? See, this is where it starts to get confusing, and I'll circle back around to this one. Preventative maintenance is really for pilots on their own airplanes. That's why it was designed. But as an A&P, it's just maintenance to me. So, all right. So, major repairs. Well, okay, what about major alterations? What have we learned? Where would I find a list of major alterations? FAR 43. Appendix A. Section A, because it's airframe. It's going to give me a whole list. And I go down that list. And what I'm about to do is not on the list. Oops, did I put, no, that's not the right reference. Yeah, it is. Alterations. Do alterations? Yes, yes it is. A and A1. Sorry, that was A1. It's a 1. There we go. Correct. So there's my reference. There's all my major alterations. You'll get pretty comfortable as you go through the program. I just need you to know, what are these things? How do I know what's a major alteration? So if I'm working on something and I don't know if it's a major, let me back up just a little bit. So what's the difference between a repair and an alteration? A repair is exactly what it sounds like. And an alteration is exactly what it sounds like. You're altering something. So in aircraft, things are weird. Like, you have a car and you want to change your tires. You want to change the air cleaner in your car. And so you have a car, and I don't know what kind of car, you got a Chevy, right? And so Chevy, so what kind of came off the factory, what was the brand of the air cleaner? AC? Delco? Somebody give me a car. What do you got?
Tahoe, Chevy Tahoe.
Chevy, you got a Chevy Tahoe?
Yeah.
Ah, there you go. See, so he's got what, an AC Delco air cleaner in there. It came from the factory. It's got that paper air cleaner on there. He's like, I don't want to do that. I want to get one of those K&N filters. You guys know what those are? Okay, well, they're foamy with the oil and stuff. Okay, aircraft. My aircraft came out of the Cessna factory with a paper air cleaner out front. And I don't want the paper air thing. I want the K&N type. Well, for us, it's called a bracket air filter. The company makes it. So I take off that air cleaner and I put on a bracket. Oh, wait a minute. What did it come out of the factory with? Did not come out with the foamy one. So I just did what to it?
Alteration.
I altered it. Technically, it's a major alteration. Wait a minute. Changing an air cleaner is a major alteration. Yes, it is. and I don't expect you to know this, but if you hear it enough, you'll get it. When an aircraft comes out of the factory, it has a whole list of options. If I look down the options and it said air cleaner, paper, air cleaner, foam, and I take off the paper and put on a foam, and it was an option, then it's just a simple alteration. Just an alteration. I altered it, and it was allowed because Cessna said I could do it. But if I look down, it says air cleaner, paper, and then the next thing is something else. I'm like, whoa, paper was the only option? But this company over here makes a foamy one and I buy the foamy and put it on there. It is a major alteration because it was not approved by the factory. It is not on the what's called type certificate data sheet. And that's why I love airplanes, because it's just got to be exact. So that becomes a major alteration, which requires a lot of paperwork. Yeah.
If you were to change an airplane's instruments from gauges to like screen, what type of alteration?
Ah, there you go. So we're going to take out all of, they call them steam gauges, the round gauges. They don't operate off steam. So I did this on my airplane. I want to take out the steam gauges and I want to put a digital G5s. That is, so I go to the type certificate data sheet and I go gauge, round, and that's the only part number. They give me a couple part numbers and not a single one of them is digital because my airplane was made in 1977 and digital did not exist. So I want to put that in. So what do? So it's an alteration. Is it major? Absolutely. So you can't just do major alterations. You just hey, I just want to do it. My air filter thing, I got to go to the company that sells it. I got to get a thing that's called a supplement to the type certificate, an STC. They had to have it approved. It's got to be approved for my aircraft. Then I have to fill out a Form 337 in duplicate, send one to the FAA, one to the aircraft records. See, it gets rather complicated. The instruments, I was allowed to put in the new autopilot and the G5 and all that because Garmin went to the FAA, got it approved for my aircraft. So I got it approved for my aircraft. What do I have to do? I got to follow the instructions for the supplement of the type certificate. I've got to do an airplane flight manual update. I've got to do weight and balance update. I got to fill out the Form 337s and the duplicate, send one to the FAA, one of the aircraft records. I keep one for myself, but it is my airplane, so I already have one for myself. So you have to do all this stuff. So let's go back around. I confuse the hell out of you. What do you got to know? There are different types of work. There's maintenance. There's preventative maintenance, and we'll talk about who can do what. There's repairs, alterations, major repairs, major alterations, and inspections. And what is an inspection? It's inspecting here. It's exactly what it sounds like. I don't know what I write on here. Inspections. Oh, there's a lot to talk about for inspections, but that'll be a good place to pick up when we get back from dinner. Right? Yes, it is the dinner time.